Hey, hello everyone, this is Sergey from Ushanka Show again, and today I would like to tell you some more stories about life in the Soviet Union and more details about life in Soviet apartment buildings. As you probably know, if you're on my channel, I talked a lot about Soviet housing and how during Nikita Khrushchev period, that's when the massive construction began of really basic, quick, cheap housing for Khrushchev era, it was called Khrushchevka. After Khrushchev, there was those very small, tiny apartments. Out in the country, the tallest building was 3-story high. In the cities, was a standard height 5-story high Khrushchevka apartment buildings, no elevators. So when buildings started going up, guess what started happening? There was more people falling out of the windows or falling out of balconies. And I didn't do research like what are your chances, how are your chances of dying increase from falling from a higher elevation. Like obviously, there's still a chance you can survive falling off the 5th floor. But when Brezhnev construction era came, our apartments went from 5-story high to 9-story high. Now, if you're falling from the 9th story, there's no chance you're gonna survive. It's like really seldom. And so we actually had a lot of jokes on this topic of people falling off the buildings, like not off the top of the building, not from the roof, but out of the windows or balconies. And one of them is, it's really mean. It's like, actually was a joke, like a children's joke. It was really mean. So what is the difference between a 2nd floor and the 9th floor? So that's a Brezhnev era joke because there were no 9 floors in Khrushchev era. So the 2nd floor sounds like this. Ah! And the 9th floor sounds like this. Ah! So I don't know if I need to explain the humor, but if you fall from the 9th floor, first you scream, then you hit the ground, you don't scream. And 2nd floor, you fall, you hit the ground, then you scream because you maybe broke your leg. Now, my family, after we moved out of dorms where we lived on the 4th floor, and it's actually, that's where I had a chance to die from falling from the heights, but that wasn't out of the window. I was too small to crawl up on the ledge of the window, but we had a stairs going down. There was a quite wide opening between them. And as a kid, I copied older kids sliding on the rails. And if you fall in the middle, you're dead. And my dad noticed me doing it while he was coming from work. And that was the only time when he spanked my butt. He snatched me off the rails. He whooped my ass. And said, my mom said, he hit you so hard that it was his hand printed on your little butt. But I wasn't sliding down those rails anymore. Then when we moved to Gostinka apartment, which was 9-story high, we were on the 1st floor. So no risk falling out of the window and killing yourself. But of course, 1st floor was like the worst floor you can get probably because first of all, it's visible from outside. So you have to keep your windows closed, we didn't have like blinds back then. So if you want some privacy in the evening, you have to close it really tight. And later, it's also an issue people can break in quite easily, climbing in your window. So I checked that apartment building now, and they actually have like a metal gratings outside installed in the window to prevent people from breaking the window and going in. But I remember it was one time somebody died, fell out of the window, wasn't actually out of the window, and I'm not sure 100% how the story goes. So I think on the 5th floor, they actually had a gas pipe going outside. So apartment was supplied with natural gas for cooking. So they had, I believe above our floor was a yellow pipe with gas, and then there was another one around the 5th floor. So I remember the story that a guy was having an affair with the neighbor lady, and her husband came early, classic situation, came early from work or from business trip. So the guy decided to escape. He crawled out of the window and tried to walk on this gas pipe to get to his apartment, and he slipped, fell to his death, hit the blacktop. And as a kid, I remember there was kind of this really bizarre day. They had firefighter trucks, ambulances came, and I remember there was like this red splash on the blacktop, which was like a little blacktop walkway around the apartment. So that was kind of really bizarre. My mom claims that there was a person who was trying to break in the window and steal stuff and fell off. So I'm not sure. And of course, I tried to look it up, and what I found online that Soviet Union was actually a pretty dangerous place to live. In 1970s, there was between 200 to 300,000 deaths every year from just accidents. And, it's car accidents, industrial accidents, falling off the buildings, stuff like that. So all kind of accidents, about 2 to 300,000. There was no official information available, and of course, our newspapers never publish bad news, so there won't be like in our local newspaper, like, hey, there's a guy who fell off the building. There'll be maybe rumors in the area, but it wasn't well known. So there's no information, but Google thinks between 1 to 3% was involved with people falling out of the building. So, and a lot of it, I believe, is because of people were drinking too much. And I see totally it's easy. You decided to go for a smoke on your balcony or just lean out of the window to smoke, and then you just did something, turn around, and you just fall out of the window and fall to your death. Once again, we had a lot of jokes on that topic when the drunk fell out of balcony of the 16th floor. So during the Brezhnev era, first there were apartments 9-story high, then they went as high as 16-story high apartments. If you fall from 16th floor, definitely not a chance to survive that fall. But anyway, the joke goes, the guy falls out, he's drunk, and it takes a little bit of time, right, to reach the ground from the 16th floor. And while he's like, he fallen, and he just suddenly he became sober, and he's like, oh my God, dear Jesus, please, if you let me survive this fall, I promise I'll quit drinking. I'll be giving all money to my wife. I'll be a good guy. No more alcohol. I even quit smoking. And he hits this big pile of snow. So it was in winter. He survives. So he gets out of that pile, cleans the snow. He says, like, God damn it. When you're under stress, you can say such a dumb shit. I need to get it out of drink. So we had jokes like that. Also, I believe there's probably quite a few kids died once again falling from the windows in their apartments, because we were a latchkey generation, like my generation, born in 1970s, early 60s. 100% employment means 100% of your parents are at work. So we come from school around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., keys on our necks, open our own apartments, get food, whatever. Then we go play outside. Or you go to another, if it's rainy day, you go to your friend, maybe your friend comes to your apartment and you hang out, you play, chess, toys, whatever. Maybe if I lived on the first floor in that Gostinka apartment, a friend of mine lived, I think, on the 5th. So that was always cool to come and we'll hang out on a balcony. And I remember looking down like, whoa, like it's so scary. So sometimes we'll fill the water balloon with water and try to drop it on a pedestrian, or just pour water out of the cup. Some kids, if they'll find parents' condoms, they'll fill those with water, and those could fit a lot of water. We were always impressed how much better stretch-wise condoms, even Soviet condoms, from the just regular balloons. So once again, you can be goofing around, or maybe dare some friend stay on the edge of the balcony, and then kid will fall down. But unfortunately, really, there's no information, no details like how many people died every year. But I believe since we had so many, pretty much in the cities, that's everyone's lifestyle, live in apartment buildings. And so I think that was happening quite a lot, kids and, of course, drunks. There were cases when people, of course, commit suicide for whatever reason. I remember in our building, when we moved to the 9-story high apartment building, we were on the 2nd floor. So once again, pretty safe. I think like 2nd, 3rd floor, like the optimal. If you ever decided to move in one of those former socialist countries and you want to buy an apartment or rent an apartment, get 2nd or 3rd floor. Don't go any lower. Don't go any higher. Water pressure was perfect. Nothing dangerous. High enough for the bad guys to climb to you easily, and safe enough for you if something happens. If you manage to fall out, or your kid, 2nd floor, you're pretty much safe. But there was a story And I said, I didn't confirm with my mother, but there was a conversation. A guy came home like really drunk, that case when you're so drunk you don't remember what you're doing. And he did to his daughter, who was like, I don't know, 10, 12, something like Epstein style. And then when he realized what he did, when he awoke, he just jumped out of the balcony and killed himself. So that's what I remember in the 9-story apartment. But that's, once again, we had a lot of really bad jokes on that topic. So we talked about the difference between 2nd and 9th floor, right? There was another joke that, once again, a guy having an affair with a chick. Her husband is away on a business trip, and they having fun. Suddenly, the doorbell. She's like, "Oh my God, it's my husband. He came home early. Grab your stuff and jump out of the window." And the guy looked at her like, "Are you crazy? That's the 13th floor." And she looked at him, "Honey, it's really bad time to be superstitious right now. Please just jump." So there was another joke like that. So I'll try to dig more about information. Maybe I'll find something about deaths from falling. But I said, generally, I started looking up and like, my goodness, the Soviet Union wasn't really a safe place. A lot of people died, but I think a lot of it is involved alcohol, because I totally see when people really drunk, just doesn't take much just to tip over and fall out the window. We didn't have any, like there was no window, like, they say in Nevada, all hotels, like you can't open windows. There was nothing to prevent kids even from opening windows and, falling out of it. It was a normal way of ventilating your apartment. It's just we had no air conditioning units, so in the summer windows will be wide open, so you can cool off your apartment. So it's never thought about it. I never thought how dangerous it was. I grew up in those, but instead I grew on the 1st floor and then on the 2nd floor, so I was pretty safe in that regard. A couple of times I had to actually climb into our apartments from the little tiny window. We call them fortechka in Ukrainian language. So normally you have a big window, and then you have 2 small windows, so just for ventilation. So that was my parents will lock apartment somehow, and then we can't find the keys, or we forgot keys inside. So there was the way to get in our apartment through climbing up on the entry. It was kind of like a roof above the entry door into our apartment building. And if you climb on that, then you use gas pipe once again, and you can shimmy yourself. Like if you're a small kid or small person, you can shimmy yourself into that open fortechka and get inside and lock the door. I had to do it at least twice, what I remember. We lived there from 1981. So when I was still small, 10, 11-year-old, I could squeeze and get in there. I did that a couple of times. So, but yeah, of course, there's no way I'll be doing something like that if we lived on the 5th or the 9th floor. So yeah, pretty interesting statistics. I'm going to make a separate video, because when I was digging for this information, also saw car accidents, and that blew my mind, because it was pretty much the same amount of people died in the Soviet Union from car accidents than in the United States, although there was about 200 million vehicles in the United States in the 70s versus 40 million in the Soviet Union, but amount of deaths was the same. So this is crazy, and I attribute that to alcohol, 100%. And I bet there was mostly pedestrians dying, mostly like in the cities, because everyone was on the move. If you go anywhere, you have to walk to the stores, banks, whatever. And of course, even old people had to cross, and people like to do shortcuts and crossing the roads in the wrong spot, and drunk drivers. So yeah, the Soviet Union, car accident wise, was like 7 times deadlier country than the United States. But that's a topic for the separate story. Well, I hope you enjoyed this short video. Please don't forget to like it, share with your friends. Of course, if you like Ushanka Show, maybe you don't have any friends. Remember that old joke. Just kidding. So anyway, you guys have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon. До побачення. Goodbye.